Hello everyone and welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is a best-of-5 series of top-level Protoss versus Zerg, where in game number 1, we find ourselves on the green map. Apparently Sarah refers to this map as the green map. We find ourselves on Ancient Cistern. Playing right here with the blue Protoss pieces in the top right-hand corner of the map, we have Creator and his opponent in the opposite corner, playing with the red Zerg drones. Likewise also from Korea, we're looking at Dark's main hatchery. Alrighty, so this particular game is probably the most emotional one, other than, well, maybe the final couple series, okay? But this is definitely one of the most emotional games played at IEM Katowice. And I will show you, the player cameras as well at the end of this particular best of 5. Because I remember watching the tail end of this entire series, and honestly, it's sad. It's just... I don't want to spoil it for you, okay? We'll get to it as this series progresses. Now, Creator, of course, a man who's been playing this game competitively for a very long time, but there's no denying that Dark has been more successful over the course of his career. And, I mean, that's not really anything shameful, because Dark is obviously one of the absolute highest earners when it comes to StarCraft 2 prize money, winning the World Championships a couple of years ago, and just doing very well over the course of his career. I haven't casted a whole lot of Creator's games lately, so I think it's about time we get a good update as to where he's currently at. I believe he was one of the last 2 remaining Protoss players at IEM Katowice, the other one being Hero, so yeah, definitely showing us that he's very capable right now, and definitely showing us that he is able to win against someone of the caliber of Dark. So we'll find out together here exactly what ended up going down between these two. Okay, Overlord Scout is gonna get into the opponent's main base, and it will probably scout here very soon that there's a Stargate coming up. The Stargate opener, of course, nothing unorthodox whatsoever. This is something we see time and time again, just because it's very good overall. Oracles to start things off, okay? Dark actually not sending it all the way through, which is kind of interesting. Obviously, he doesn't really need to necessarily know exactly what he's playing against either. He's already seen the timing right here of the upgrades at the front, and this can very well give him an indicator exactly what he's playing against regardless. And honestly, worst case scenario as Zerg, you just add on another couple queens, right? I mean, I don't remember the last time that Zerg players have complained about needing to add on another one of those queens. Ugh, what a horrible, horrible situation to be in. Needing queens for your base defense. The queen, obviously, being... You know what? Yeah, I think I'm gonna make this statement. I think the queen is the most overpowered unit in all of StarCraft 2. There you go. I think it's the best unit. Previously, I think the Ghost was probably ever so slightly better, but the Queen is pretty fantastic, right? Good for early game defense, good for macro, good for micro, good for everything. It doesn't really have any... Yeah, it doesn't... Other than, I guess, movement speed off creep, but Zerg players have come up with a lot of creative solutions to make that a whole lot better for themselves as well. Dark was, however, a little bit concerned in this game, as he did pop down that Roach Warren pretty early on. So 3.5 minute Roach Warren here. Second gas also came up nice and early. I initially thought when he put it down that maybe that is to try and defend a push or whatever from the Protoss player. But I think he may have assumed that this was something else other than a Stargate opener. Maybe that's also why he didn't want to sacrifice that Overlord, because then you have to remake an Overlord. Okay, a couple of drones going down, but taking a lot of hull damage right there on one of those Oracles. Not necessarily what you're looking for, of course. The shields will regenerate, but you do want to take as little damage on those bad boys as you possibly can. Now that is kind of interesting. I almost feel like that's a misclick. But he's going for a single Phoenix. If it's gonna... He's going Robo Facility right now as well. I already saw a Forge if I'm not mistaken, yeah. If it's just gonna be a single Phoenix, I can imagine that it's just gonna be for Overlord killing. Yeah, so it's rallied right there to that Overlord in the back as well. I honestly don't hate it, but this is not something we usually see. So I think this Phoenix will probably just be, yeah, sent across the map and all the way around to make sure that there's no Overlords hiding on the perimeter. And that will, I guess, make that, that War Prism a little bit more dangerous later on into this game as well. Now, obviously, Dark, he's not really spreading that many OVs anyways. Looks like the Oracle got another... Did we lose an Oracle? Okay, we did not. Thought for a second one of the Oracles went down. Okay, no, this one is split up from his friend, but... they're gonna make a YOLO move for it. Will he be able to escape? I think he should be okay. Yeah. Oof, that was close. Okay. The dream team is back though. All the no. No, stop that. Go back. The dream team is back. The 3 musketeers over here. Little bit of a Protoss hit squad coming across too. Now, I don't think this is really anything more than just a little bit of creep clearing. That 1 Phoenix is coming across too. Forcing a lot of units out of the Zerg is actually not bad, so just sort of camping here on the edge of creep. While technically a little dangerous, yeah. Love that little move actually from Creator. Those are the moves we don't really see all too often, but that was Creator just going on a little field trip with his Protoss units. And look at the production tab. Dark has completely halted making drones here, right? Now, ooh, this is actually maybe forcing a reaction that Creator was not hoping for, because now that he does have a large army, apparently the Nidus network is coming up. Words are difficult. I'm recording this early on this Saturday morning, okay? Apparently, enunciating words, not my strong suit today. Anyways, he did not see that Nidus network. It is kind of ironic that we have a Nidus network after we did have that Phoenix as well. Ooh, I thought we were gonna send the roaches across, but no, it's gonna be swarm host play instead. Okay. I was gonna say, if there's a Phoenix out on the map to try and snipe overlords that you usually need for that vision to pop down the worm, it might not necessarily be the best move, but it's actually a mass swarm host. So we're using Zerglings right here for vision instead, and I guess we're gonna be popping them all over the map to try and keep that Protoss player contained. Very interesting. We don't see a lot of swarm host play in 2023. But Dark, I mean, he played this a couple of times at Katowice. He is trying to bring it back, and honestly for good reason. They're a very powerful unit. Primarily, though, because of the fact that Protoss players don't play against this all too often. Anyways, this is the first time the Creator really sees exactly what he's playing against. Okay, loses a bunch of probes so far, and that is the scary part of these units, right? You always have to make that decision right now as Protoss. What exactly do you do? Because if you sit back, sure, your army can grow, but you also know that there's gonna be another attack wave. Generally speaking, we will see a move out here from Protoss at some point, because you kind of need to, right? If you're gonna sit back though, you may just die to the continuous attack waves. There's already a Prism coming up, Immortal production also coming out of that second Robo facility here. Curator needs to be very careful that he does not get caught off guard here, because if he accidentally doesn't pay attention here and that Locust Wave connects with his entire army, he's gonna lose a lot of valuable units. And honestly, it may already be that time over there. I do like that Stasis Ward quite a bit, but the Locusts, they're now landing on the ground on top of all of those very expensive Protoss units. Not bad though. You know what? He lost quite a few units there. It's always a little difficult to judge those battles. Yeah, look at the cost efficiency here for Zerg, but he did get rid of a lot of the roach count. Another Nidus Worm is coming up north. I can imagine though, yeah, the Oracle spotted that earlier, so they are going to be able to shut that one down. Usually what you're looking for as Protoss here is give or take a minimum of 90 army supplies, so you can kind of see that right there at the bottom of the screen, before you go for a big move. And then you try to attack in between the Locust waves. If you wait too long, now obviously bigger army is better, right? Because the Swarmhost army maxes out really quickly. Look at Dark's supply count. It's been topped off at, well, pretty much 200 here for a long time. If you wait too long, suddenly we're gonna have lurkers out in the battlefield. And lurkers, especially when they get their hive tech upgrades, they're gonna be very difficult to stop for that Protoss ground force. Okay. Nice little bit of Immortal juggling over here as well. Loses a Stalker, loses a couple units, but nothing all too crazy. Obviously, the idea of taking a fourth Nexus is also very nice, but you can see that Creator is preoccupied here. So that makes me think he does want to go for an attack. The question is, how long is he willing to stretch it? Now, Immortal Archon is actually not terrible against... Ooh, no, not the Immortals. That's 3 Immortals. Should be able to bring them to safety, I would imagine, especially with that Prism, but now suddenly, yeah, the Swarmhosts are once more on the right side of the map. I'm curious to see how long he's gonna wait, because if he waits for too long, then there's gonna be dozens of lurkers out in the battlefield. Okay. Is now the time? We're not even gonna try and defend? I actually really like that. Okay. So Creator is essentially going all in. He's saying, yo, I'm not gonna spend any time trying to defend that base. I'm not gonna keep my probes alive. I am gonna put all of my eggs in one basket. Now this is lovely. Those oracles from earlier, he kept them alive for a long time, and apparently their job has now been completed as they get sacrificed to kill a couple of those lurkers. This is a scary Protoss army. The immortal count is large. 12 immortals here. I was gonna say, there were more earlier. They're actually not really in need of a prism. No, they're gonna get absolutely torn apart. Those roaches, that is, by those immortals. Okay, here's the Locust wave. He needs to back off. Keep in mind that as these Locusts are on cooldown, this Zerg army really isn't that scary at all. Very nice. No Zerglings really available to wrap around. Good pickup control there once again by Creator. That hatchery is running dangerously low, and now the Locusts are also running low on duration, and I would imagine that that is once again going to trigger this Protoss army to move forward. Love the split over here. I would have really liked to see a second prism, specifically for these units on the ramp. Obviously not easy to pull that sort of thing off, but Creator seems to be microing both armies very, very well. And would you look at that, the drones are pulled away from the third hatchery of Dark. I know that there's a couple of Protoss players watching this game, probably mauling at their monitors right now, okay? They're getting very angry looking at this Swarmos play, because I know it's one of the most disliked units to play against, but Creator is showing us that it's certainly possible to win against it if you try hard enough. That being said, though, he needs to be very careful. Dark supply count is still massive. Creator has never rebuilt that Nexus. Okay, maybe, you know what? Maybe I cheered a little too early. When we saw Creator moving forward previously, I thought he was going in for the win. This is actually super close. This is actually super close. Yeah, now the Zergling Hydra army is quite nice. We're gonna need to see some really good pickup control here. Locust once again off cooldown. We have the Stalkers blinking forward, trying to target down whatever they can. The Prism goes down! Oh no, the Prism just went down to the Hydralisk. He overextended. Oh no. Well, there you go. Protoss players, you can continue modding at your screens. It's fine. Okay, next up, we find ourselves on Dragon Scales. Nice game right there from Creator, but Dark turned out to be ever so slightly better. I think the nail in the coffin was losing that Prism. Cool strategy though from Creator, right? The fact that he just sacrificed his third Nexus when he deemed the time was right. Dangerous move. Ooh, really nice surround over here, Dark. Accidentally playing Warcraft 3. Dang, that was actually so smooth. Getting those 4 Zerglings. I fast-forwarded through the first 2.5 minutes of this game, by the way. Maybe I'm becoming a little too liberal here with the the amount of time I skip in the early game of Zerg versus Protoss. But, you know, if there's something interesting going on, obviously I will not be fast-forwarding. But I'm looking at the game, I'm playing it at like ×2 or ×4 speed, and I notice that everything is what it's expected to look right? We've pretty much all seen, probably by this point, a couple hundred, if not a couple thousand, Zerg versus Protoss early games. It is all pretty self-explanatory. Anyhow, it's gonna be a Void Ray opener this time around from Creator, which is pretty interesting. This is something that some of the Korean Protoss players like to mix in. Zaun, for example, likes to go for this from time to time, but honestly, I am not a fan. I've ranted about this in previous videos as well. But like, if the idea, right, is to go for a Void Ray primarily to kill Overlords and to secure a third base, then why just not make a Phoenix like we saw in the previous game? Like, right now, there's definitely not gonna be a lot of value that this Oracle is gonna be able to get out. Normally, the very first Oracle can be incredibly dangerous, but now this Oracle is gonna sort of show up. I mean, maybe it'll get a couple of worker kills. I might be entirely wrong here, but it's gonna be very difficult to get much done. Now, Creator did successfully analyze that in the previous game there were 2 Overlords out on the map, and maybe that's why. I wonder if that's the major reason here as to why we're seeing a Void Ray opener. Maybe he's thinking, okay, if my opponent is gonna go for 2 Overlord Scouts in game 1, he'll probably do it again in game number 2. Dark has been trying to zigzag around, but eventually this Overlord will be spotted, and I think that sort of justifies the Void Ray opener. It's just that this Void Ray is gonna be kind of pointless now moving forward. It's not as great. Anyways, 2 Adepts, a Void Ray, an Oracle. Creator is getting quite adventurous while trying to secure a third Nexus here as well. The Zerglings were thinking about going across the map, but they must have realized that something was wrong. Oracle in the main base does absolutely nothing. Well, I guess it sees the timing of the lair. Fair enough, at least he now knows that it's not a super quick lair, which is good to know. Anyhow. With an opener like this, Creator is not going to be able to deal a lot of economical damage, but apparently he doesn't really need it either. With the timing of that third Nexus, he's going to be able to finish that up nice and early, and you can see his worker count is actually matching that of the Zerg very, very nicely here. Despite the way that those larvae can be quite scary, of course, but So far, Dark only at 60 workers, really nothing all too crazy. If you can get just a handful of workers, that would be amazing, or maybe a stasis ward or so. Okay, we have 2 oracles now available, and you know what? Yeah, no reaction speed right there. Well, not fast enough anyways from Dark. He did pull the drones eventually, and, well, now a whole lot of them are not mining. So this actually justifies his opener pretty much entirely. Now, interestingly enough, the follow-up right here from Creator is a different one than what we saw in the previous game. We're going into a Templar Archives together with Charge. So this is opening up the opportunity for Creator to make a bunch of High Templar, but then morph them into Archons. And obviously with the Zealots, he can, well, charge them across the map. It's gonna be Roach Hydra here from Dark, so a little bit of a different unit come from him as well. Those upgrades, I don't think they're gonna finish up in time for this attack. Although there's a good chance that we're gonna see our Protoss player play relatively passively here for at least a little bit. Okay, Oracles decided to group together. 5 drones this time around, so actually not bad at all. I thought we were gonna see a bigger attack, because there's already quite a lot of gateways. Yeah, we're going up to 8 gateways here, which is really quite a lot. But then we also have this prism here, maybe just to juggle in the main base for a very, very small amount of time, and then to go straight back into reinforcing the army. Either way, prism joining that void ray from earlier, as it's gonna go into the main base. Now, I wonder if I'm... Ooh, okay, well, never mind. I didn't think we were gonna go for a massive warp in over here, but fair enough. That is actually a scary amount of Protoss now in the main base. The problem is that those units are not gonna have an easy time coming back home. I'm sort of warming up here to the idea of that void ray a little bit, but... okay, that's the plan. Ah, you know what? I actually kind of like it. I actually kind of like it. Now we're gonna go, ooh, into another void ray, as well as another Stargate. I love how the Protoss players from Korea in particular, they all have this very distinct playstyle where they do everything ever so slightly differently. Okay, Hydra's not right there in time to try and kill that. Don't lose another prism like we saw in game number 1. The Zealots here are gonna get sacrificed, but at least the Hydras don't finish the job. Okay, so this is not a transition I would have expected. Fleet Beacon goes down, Void Ray production is ramped up. We see, well, a couple of those disruptors on the production tab as well. I wonder if the Fleet Beacon here is primarily for carrier play, or if we're actually just primarily getting it for the Flux Veins. Flux Veins is the speed improvement for Void Rays that does allow them to zap around the map and do a lot of damage and then go back home. The problem is that Hydras really shut down that Void Ray play pretty hard. So I think that's probably why the disruptors are being made, but then you're kind of gambling, right? You're kind of hoping that your... I don't know if I like it. You're kind of hoping that your disruptors connect. It's a cool style to play right here from Creator, but also a little bit risky. Zealots in the meantime, though. Ooh. Okay, you know what? He maybe is gonna get the Council, Dark that is, on that 4th hatchery or the 4th nexus of the Protoss, but he's gonna lose his own 3rd. In the meantime, there's the other... Oh my god, the other side as well. 2 Archons, 3 Zealots, they also clear the job. Prism picks up whatever it can, except for Zachary over there. Zachary the Zealot, a little disappointed, but now suddenly Dark is on 2 base. He decides to retake a hatchery, but this is immediately triggering an all-out assault right here from Creator. Or, sorry, from Dark. Creator is gonna have to hold on. Okay. 8 drop alerts coming up. I actually really like the drop alerts here. Protoss players have gotten very comfortable just sitting there bowling at whatever they see. But the idea of bringing the entire Zerg army into the main base is not likely one... What's going on here? Okay, it's not likely one that Creator has experienced all too often, especially with pretty much half of the production here of Protoss caught up on top of that ramp. It is really, really cool. This is only part of the Zerg army though, as we see Dark also with a little hit squad here to try and just deal damage wherever he can. There's the big drop inside of the main base. Dark. He may not have a lot of economy, but he's got a stupid amount of army here, and Creator needs to clean it up. Void Ray count is nice and high though. There's really not that many Hydras remaining. I think there are more Hydras, but they're mostly on the right side of, ooh, the map. Okay, good detonation over there. I don't think there's enough. No, now carriers are coming up as well. The Void Rays are chasing down the Overlords. And I think Creator holds. Lovely little move there from Creator, man. So, Void Ray into Oracles. Then into an Archon drop with 8 chartlets in the opponent's main base. then into double Void Ray production with Disruptors, while going for a Zealot Warpin on the left side and an Archon Zealot push on the right. I mean, I don't think he can really practice that entire, you know, spiel right there very reliably, but the fact that he thought of it is actually really sick. Anyways, just like in the previous game though, when I got it all wrong, Dark is not out of this game yet. The man is known to pull rabbits out of hats, but like the problem is, what is his hat, right? He doesn't have a hat. It's a very tiny hat if he's got any. There's no lurkers, there's no hive tech, there's not really any good upgrades. There's a whole lot of nothing. I guess Dark's very best plan here is to cross his fingers and hope that Creator attacks right now and slips up. If Creator doesn't pay attention and accidentally, I don't know, loses all of his disruptors or something, then maybe this becomes more manageable. But I like the idea of Creator sitting back here a lot. Just sit back, try to make a maxed out army. The opponent doesn't really have a chance here to go into, I don't know, for example, a Corruptor play, right, to reliably counter this. There's no way there's going to be Vipers out. And if all of that is true, I think you can probably just, well, max out with carriers and try your best to win the game. Hydra's over here being annoying though. And this is of course Dark. Okay, pulling out all stops, trying his best. There's also a pretty large Zerg army here on the right side of the map, but I don't think it's large enough. That's what she said. No. Sorry. Sorry. Professional commentator, Lowko. Anyways, we do have a little skirmish on the right side. Looks like the natural got cleaned up. Good attempt right there by Dark, but I don't think that's enough. Like, the problem is his economy is not good. Although, you know, he's been trying his best. Is that the Void Ray just working on that hatchery for a while? Because it's once again bleeding. The Hydra count is getting rather big, though. We don't have Storm or anything. We also don't really have that many Disruptors. So, it's 23 Hydras and 0... Well, I mean, I don't want to count you out, little Roach, but basically 0 Roaches here in total. Zealots are actually really quite good against Hydras. There's no Banelings. There's really nothing to tank for those Hydralisks, right? So maybe the straight up battle between the carriers and the Hydras will go quite okay for Dark. Dark probably hoping that his opponent is gonna overcommit on carriers. But Creator has a really solid ground army. Honestly, this is a ground army supported with a couple of air units, and Mass Hydra is not that great. That said, this is always an opportunity as well. Dark, man, this guy is very scary. He decides to go straight into the counterattack. So he has decided, I'm not going to be able to face your army head on, but what I can do is base race. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Keep in mind, the win condition in a game of StarCraft 2 is to destroy all of your opponent's structures. Zerg has creep everywhere. They can build wherever they like, pretty much. They can, well, move around a lot as well, and they have a ton more vision than the Protoss. That being said, though, Creator's army is just much too big. He could always recall back home as well. Dark looks at the fights and he realizes, yeah, there's really no way. Next up, we find ourselves on Neo-Humanity. Now, I was once again ready to fast forward through this particular game as well, but then I realized that Dark had set his rally point already towards the other side of the map. Creator going for a pylon scout. So, pylon on the low ground, and then sending that probe straight towards the other side. This is, of course, gonna allow him to scout out nice and early what's going on here. But one trick that I've seen Dark, play many times before when he goes for a proxy hatchery to still send a drone to fake going for the natural. Natural gets blocked, now he goes for the third instead. Now... Oh. Okay, so hold up. There's these golden mineral fields, right? They have 14 minerals in them each. It takes 2 trips. Creator now confirms as well that there's no third base taken. He's gonna have to get into his opponent's main base. I didn't expect the proxy hatch to go up over here. So what exactly is the plan? We did have that drone that was pretending to be a natural, right? It was pretending like it was gonna turn into a natural and then pretending to go on over to the third base. Yeah, I think that one will be sent on over in this direction. So, Creator has checked this side of the map. He has checked his own third base. What exactly do you assume, right? So he's once again checking around the map. He's making sure maybe it's the 4th base, like maybe it's the forward expansion. There's a couple of different options available. He is gonna go for the safety Zealot, but he needs to be very cautious. I wouldn't have minded him seeing go for the Cybernetics core before the Nexus. Yeah, so we're gonna start mining out the golden minerals in the back of the Protoss' natural. Interesting. I wonder if we're gonna go straight into a Roach Warren as well. This is something that Creator is also thinking of here. But no, not quite. Queen starts up over here, and we're gonna continue mining out these minerals. Creator does not actually have vision of this at all, which is honestly a little surprising. We should really be mining out that particular field, I believe, but... Okay, Roach Warren does get planted down. I think Dark was just waiting until Creator was, well, pretending to leave the main base, but then, you know, Creator left the main base, came back in. These guys are playing tricks on one another the entire time. Zealot now, though, has spotted this proxy hatch. This Overlord, man, it needs to get to safety. Are you kidding me? Okay, well, anyways. Gonna go for a single gateway over there. Is that a full wall? Yeah, it is a full wall. So the new entrance here into the Protoss' base is gonna be the one right over here at the bottom that this Stalker is trying to protect. 2 Overlords are about to finish. Dark is gonna go for a Creep Tumor, not an Inject. So he will be able to go for some Roaches now that the Warren is done. But not really that many. I can't quite figure out if this proxy hatch here from Dark is brilliant or really dumb. So it's essentially a Ravager all-in that is building on the opponent's side of the map with link speed. Now the problem is, yeah, the natural here is done. Creator saw this coming in really quite late, but he still had a lot of time to prepare. He goes for double shield batteries over here, and what in the world exactly is the plan? Now we don't have a Stargate, by the way. It's gonna be an additional gateway instead. He pulled some probes out of the gas as well, now only mining 2 workers worth of gas here every minute. So that is really not that much. Ravagers, okay, decide to walk the long way around as they go after the Cyber Core. God, Dark must be one of the worst players to play against, man. This guy has a range that's just insane. Zerglings, look at them. Running in. Ravagers distracting the opponents. Well, Stalkers there. There is a double shield battery at the front, but yeah, nothing in the main base. 4 probes have gone down, nothing all too crazy yet. Actually, good control right here. Very nice crisis management from Creator. Loses another probe, but that was a lot of Zerglings right there for, well, 5 workers. Honestly, really not that terrible for our Protoss player here at all. Okay, Adepts sneaking out through the bottom, checking out the worker count over here. It's only 2 drones. May as well use that as a kill when you're shading backwards defensively instead. This is still, of course, 1 base Zerg, right? So, like, if it's 1 base Zerg, all Creator needs to do is buy time. When it comes to income, yeah, for at least another little while. I mean, that's when the probes, I guess, were preoccupied in the main base, but if he can hold on for another little while, his economy will allow him to just simply make a bigger army. And, well, generally speaking, in StarCraft 2, more stuff tends to beat less stuff. Love that proxy pile on the right side of the map. This is the first time that Dark really gets caught off guard. And 2 Adepts in the main base is a disaster for him. He already does have a pretty terrible economy. A shield battery, by the way, manually target firing down the warp gate as well to try and keep it alive for a little bit longer. Yeah, these drones are actually in a lot of trouble. I mean, he's busy targeting in the main base as well, so he's not really focusing as much attention as he would like to on those Adepts in the main base of the Zerg, but already a lot of damage is being done here by Protoss. All that Creator really needs to do is hold on. Cybernetics core is going to end up going down. That basically forces him to make only a bunch of Zealots here. Zealots are not that great. Okay, starts up a new Cyber Core. Wouldn't have minded seeing that one a little bit earlier, but income-wise, right, this is really telling the story. That said, it's Creator who's only capable of making Zealots, but at this point, the unit-producing structures that he has are all unpowered. So yeah, he goes for an additional gateway. He's now chrono boosting out his warp gate as well to try and get that recharge available a little bit sooner. Dark in the meantime has cleaned up those Adepts, by the way, on the other side of the map. That was, ooh, a perfect group of Biles. Oh no. Oh no. Creator. Not again. Creator is a very emotional player as well. I know he can get stuck in his own head a little bit sometimes. He's probably having flashbacks to game number 1 that he honestly should have won, but then he didn't. You don't want to have that happen again. Okay, good hold here for now. Cybercore is once again available. Creator really pumping up the production here. Everything's powered with one pylon, which always makes me a little nervous. Probes are pulled away as well. Creator very much so respecting this. Yeah, those biles are scary, man. The fact that the Ravager, right? They're just so powerful at this stage in the game. Look at that Queen as well, by the way. Just sitting there. Accumulating transfusion energy. Here we go, though. Protoss getting a couple of nice force fields. Spinning a few of those Ravagers back, but still not a bad fight right here for Dark. 8 probes have gone down. Now we have all of those gateways done in the main base, but he's not really warping in that much, and he doesn't really have that much mining, because he's essentially pulled his own mining away from the mineral line. Dark has really not made a lot of drones in this game at all, though, so even if half of the workers here from the Protoss aren't doing much, I think it's still quite playable, but you can see the income advantage has evened up. There's no denying that Dark is trading, okay, quite cost efficiently. Send the probes back to mining, dude. I really think we should send the probes back to mining, but Immortal is coming up. Okay. Big Daddy Immortal just about to join the battlefield. Battery overcharge is available as well. There are some Zerglings, but the Immortal is going to be fantastic here. Yeah, probes are back to mining right now. Okay. Transfusions once again used, but Brenda now also part of the fight. She's very far forward and obviously very slow off creep. Battery overcharge being used right now as Creator is ready to go for a slightly more aggressive move. The biles are scary, but I think Creator is keeping his head cool enough here. Yeah, GG is cold. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Gresvin. Standard openers once again from both players. The only thing that I think is kind of nice to mention is the fact that Creator once again went for an early probe scout. He once again blocked his opponent's natural. However, he went to check whether or not the third base was taken quite a bit sooner than he did in the previous game, just to make sure that he's not going to play against that shenanigans that he had to deal with in the previous game once more. Cybercore started up the warp gate research, cancels it in favor right here of a faster Stargate. Dark, however, has probably spotted it here, so he's definitely trying to play tricks right here on Dark, and you do love to see that. Now, one thing, by the way, that might be worth noting here, that's kind of nice to know, is that this particular match is to determine who moves on at IEM Katowice. Both players at this point are guaranteed $10,000. However, the winner of this best-of-5 series is guaranteed $20,000. So, you know, this is not a bad improvement whatsoever. I mean, I'd rather have $20,000 than $10,000, is what I'm saying. Obviously, these players probably agree as well. We have some shenanigans going on in the natural. My god. Creator trying to be as annoying as possible. He's like, yo, Dark, you're trying to be a jerk to me? Watch me, okay? And watch me be an absolute jerk to you as well. Problem is, I don't know if this is worthwhile. Okay. I mean, sure, it's delayed the Zerg's natural, but again, right? Worst case scenario, this Adept is gonna die as well. Worst case scenario, Zerg makes another queen a little bit sooner, okay? Like, he would ooh, no, she's super dead. Really? Well, okay then. Zerglings are running the wrong direction. Worst case scenario for Zerg, you add on another couple queens before the hatchery, right? Queens are 150 minerals each. The hatchery is 300 minerals. I don't think he really bothered by that. I don't think he was really bothered by that at all. Anyway, so in the end here, yeah, Protoss ends up losing more than our Zerg, and I don't think Dark really is all too flustered. Anyhow, Phoenix opener this time around. So Oracle into a single Phoenix. I wonder if we're going to see multiple Phoenixes coming out, or if it's once again just to snipe I don't know, a couple of those OVs. Hey, by the way, something I've been thinking about over the last couple of days. Oh, we're going Oracle into Phoenix into Oracle. Well, actually, not really the last couple of days. I've been thinking about this for the last couple of years, if I'm being totally honest with you. I made that video with the announcement yesterday, right? I don't think he's really going to be able to commit to a whole lot. I think I have some time to talk. I hope. I made that video with the announcement of the GSO and the ESO yesterday with, you know, their restructuring and the way they're handling StarCraft 2 moving forward. One result of that whole shenanigans, right, of the fact that the price pool has been reduced quite a bit, is that I can imagine that a lot of the StarCraft 2 pros are gonna try their hand at playing StarCraft 1. Many of the StarCraft 2 pros that you know they were originally Brood War professionals, and I mean, when the money was in StarCraft 2, they decided to switch to StarCraft 2. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the guys that you know and love, because Brood War is significantly bigger over in Korea, I wouldn't be surprised if they switch on back to Brood War instead. Now, I am not nearly as familiar with StarCraft 1 as I am with StarCraft 2, but would you be interested in me casting some Brood War as well? I mean, I'm more than willing to give it a try. It's quite difficult to find replays of games. But I've been asking around, and there are a bunch of replays that I could definitely comment on. Especially if it's names that you may already be familiar with. It could be kind of fun. Let me know if you're still listening. I mean, I don't even know if anyone gets to this point in the video, but let me know. I hope so. Somebody probably listens to this. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comment section of this video. Would you like to hear some Brood War commentary? You can, by the way, be brutally honest with me. If you don't want to hear Brood War commentary as well, that is totally okay. I am still Dutch after all. You can be as direct as you want to be. I actually prefer it that way. Please don't beat around the bush. But yeah, I think it would be fun. Because there's a good chance that a lot of the names we've known for a long time are going to be switching on over to Brood War as well, and maybe play both games at the same time. Because I know guys like TY, for example, have already been doing that. Apparently SOS is really good in StarCraft 1. Anyhow. We've got a lot of Zerglings. And what seems to be a Ling Bane-based army this time around. Something that Creator's been doing in this game so far is hide adepts while researching the Glaives upgrade. So this is Creator suddenly whipping out a Glaives all-in. This is technically not that great of a build, but when you have a little bit of wiggle room in a best-of-5 series, I love this. So he's been trying to keep that army of his opponent. Yeah, he's been trying to keep this army hidden from the opponent, and now Dark knows what he's playing against. He's adding in a bunch of Banelings, but he really needs to connect. This Adept army is very scary if not handled correctly. Couple Adepts over here. Sadly, they get picked off for essentially free here. Banelings here get sniped as well. Nicely done by Creator, who's now, okay, trying his best to deal as much damage as possible. Oracle's joining in as well, but I think there might just be a bit too much Zerg. Yeah. Despite the fact that Dark here did not know exactly what he was playing against, he did not really get carried away making drones. A lot of Zerg players will, well, try to make at least one round of workers for the 4th base as well. That's exactly what Dark is doing at this point, but he's already cleaned up the majority of his opponent's units. And now suddenly, though, this is looking kind of dangerous here for Creator. The problem is that you have tacked up into Glaive Adepts, right? And Glaive Adepts are awesome until they aren't. They're very hit or miss. They can be incredibly powerful, but as soon as there's like a proper unit counter out, and usually the proper unit counter is just having a high DPS army, be it in Banelings, be it in Hydras, or be it with just simply a lot of stuff. Those Adepts, they tend to get countered pretty hard. Obviously, it's the Twilight Council that is required to go for the Glaives upgrade, so he can still go into Charge if he wants to, he can still go into Blink if he wants to as well, but it's all gonna slow down Creator quite a bit. So he decides to double down on Adepts together with Immortals, which I do find kind of interesting. Okay, he's actually gonna go for a 4th Nexus. I almost wonder if this is a fake 4th, because he's making units as if he's ready for another all-in. So if this is a fake 4th, he would really like the opponent to come across the map, because he doesn't really have workers here to try and... He's not making probes either. I think he's actually trying to fake his opponent to come across the map, or he's trying to fake out his opponent, rather, to come across the map, so he can fight on top of his own static defense and all that. Either that, or he will try and macro his way out of this regardless, but yeah. Yeah, Nexus gets cancelled. That makes a lot of sense. Dark, you gotta step forward, my man. Oh, God. There you go. Now he sees what's going on. Already. Ooh. Banelings, though, almost caught off in the middle of the map. Are we gonna see some force fields? Yeah, probably not. They would probably slither away. If those sentries were ever so slightly further forward, I think it'd be quite good. He decides to knock down those rocks. Where's the Prism? We do have a Prism. It's bringing in one more Immortal here. 3rd base immediately in a lot of trouble. Now, we saw the Creator is happy to sacrifice a base if he thinks that it can win him the game. That's what we saw in game number 1, that is. Banelings, though, trying their very best. Very clumped up Protoss army here on this ramp. Okay, he does split here at the last possible second, but Immortals are already getting picked up. I mean, the problem is if you're splitting these units, right, they're not Marines. If you spend a lot of time walking around with your Adepts or with your Zealots, they just don't do any damage. And that brings us to Royal Blood. The final game in this best-of-5 series, and also the game that brings out all of the emotions. Alright, so we've got ourselves an Adept to start things off. Warp Gate starts up here for Creator. That is not a mistake. He purposely starts that up to show the Overlord. Then he cancels it after he has enough gas to start up the Stargate, and then he will restart the Warp Gate research once again, hoping, crossing his fingers, that Dark is not looking at that Overlord for every waking moment here, right? The Dark looks at the Overlord for a little bit, he sees the Cybercore spinning, he sees that there's an upgrade started up, then he looks back at his own base, starts up whatever he needs, and then he restarts the Warp Gate, hopefully in the meantime. Anyways, Dark doesn't give a crap about any of the things I just mentioned. He just ran a couple of Zerglings through to the left side of the map, but okay, this does leave him a little bit vulnerable here at home. There's supposed to be a bunch of, oh god, bunch more Zerglings there. Not bad, actually very good. The Stargate opener gets scouted, the Zerglings get killed, but I don't think that's really the end of the world right here for Creator at all. Yeah, Creator keeping that Adept alive, killing 2 of those drones is actually really sweet. Another Adept does pop out of the gateway as well, and this should be enough, combined with that first one that's still alive, to go into a third Nexus if he wants to. Should be a-okay. Okay, Oracle is out. If Creator can get a couple of kills with that bad boy as well, he's gonna be in a pretty good spot, as he now goes into a Stargate. Okay. Or, sorry, a Stargate. Well, he goes into a Stargate. He already did that, but he goes into a Void Ray. Lowko said very dramatically. He goes into a Stargate that he's already had for 2 minutes. Adepts at the front get pushed back. Brilliant micro here from Creator so far. Oracle here. Okay, I think it did get spotted. It's coming in from an angle that I don't really like all too much, because there's no drones here at this base. Yeah, okay, we're gonna settle for killing some larvae instead. Not terrible. Maybe kill one of the drones, but no. Maybe that one. Yeah, okay. Not bad. Zerglings in the meantime over at the third Nexus of Creator, but he's got enough units to push that back. He just needs to kill this Overlord, which I think he will do. Dark doesn't have an Overlord on the production tab. This is actually gonna supply block the Zerg as well. The first 4.5 minutes of this particular game have gone amazingly well for Creator. Super clean. He got his Stargate scouted, sure, but, you know, do you really care, right? Stargate scouted, I mean, you're gonna go Stargate more often than not, and now he's gonna pile on the pressure even more. Okay. 4 additional drones have gone down. Not a single unit killed on the side of our Protoss player yet. 7 drones, 4 Zerglings, and an Overlord. Fantastic start right here for Creator, because this is also a build with a very greedy third Nexus. As you can see with the worker count right now, well, before all of these drones on the production tab finish up, Creator has been in a good spot. He does hit a small supply block here, but the Nexus finishes, and that is going to allow him to get back into the production here, regardless of that pylon. Adepts thinking about shading forward. They're thinking about moving in. 2 small groups, by the way, of Adepts. Maybe a little bit risky, but high risk, high reward. Has he seen the timing of that 4th hatchery? He has not. Okay, so Lair starts up only just now, so this is a super late Lair. 5.5 minutes. This is Dark trying to cut a corner to come back into this particular match. His early game, he knows it. It's not been great. Evolution Chamber is researching +1 melee. So that's an indicator he wants to stick around on a Zergling Baneling-based army for quite a while. Oracles in the main base decide to group together. Another Zergling over there gets killed. And they get some more drones. Okay, missed firing once, but very respectable micro. 6 additional workers end up going down. Careful, keep them alive. I don't think there's a safe space for these 2. Yeah, okay. So that's, I think, the first Protoss unit going down. But honestly, 14 workers, that is absolutely fantastic. Creator right now shading in as well. Cancel? No, he does not cancel. First shot sadly goes at the extractor itself. Maybe one more drone. Yeah, no control right there from Dark. Dark decides to go Baneling Nest together with an Evo Chamber right now. Fair enough. He knows that he's lost too many workers at this stage in the game. Robo Bay coming up right now together with the second Robo facility. I would really like to see some Colossus play coming out of Creator here, because Colossi absolutely tear apart that Zergling-based army. At this point, he doesn't know that it's melee researching in that Evo chamber. He gets a stasis ward in the opponent's main. This time around, there is a reaction. If he clicks on one of those links very soon, though, which he may have already done, he will realize that they are at +1 melee here. And that's a clear indicator that you should be going into Colossus rather than into Disruptors. So, yep, he must have recognized it, or maybe that was just the plan all along, but he goes into double Colossus production. Templar Archives finishes up. +1 ground weapons finishes up. Charge finishes up as well. Creator has got everything going for him here. 4th Nexus, very respectable timing. Double Adept warping in the main base. This is unscouted here for Dark. He sees the Adepts as they get, well, within vision range, and this is starting to get really quite painful here for the Zerg. He can even lift off these units as well and keep them alive. Brilliant. Brilliant stuff here from Creator. Like, Creator showing us that he's a world-class Protoss player. Problem is, he's playing Dark. And if there's one thing you should know about Dark, if you compare it to pretty much everybody out there, is that this guy is a fighter. It's very easy, and I realize this in my own ladder games all the time, but it's really easy that whenever your early game has kind of sucked, right? Like this game has for Dark, whenever things haven't gone your way, to just sort of give up, right? Like maybe not GG out, but to play on autopilot the majority of the time. And this is something that I've never caught Dark doing. Dark is a fighter. This man does not just give up, okay? Sure, he may be behind, but he's still playing a tournament match. This is an important game. It's not a ladder match or anything along those lines. There's a lot of money on the line for, well, 10 grand. You gotta try your hardest. But I say that, it's the most obvious thing. If you look at pro gamers, oftentimes in these sorts of scenarios, they can seem really quite defeated with the way that they approach it. Prism in the main base gets pushed back. Zergling's over here. He'll probably attempt some Baneling. Okay, well, some Baneling Revice. That is 35 Banelings here in total. But would you look at that? Creator comes in charging here with 1 Zealot as he sees this. That's a very brave Zealot, by the way. Roaches, Hydras, Lings, and Banes on the left side of the map as well. Colossus is left behind on this end of the map. I don't think 1 Colossus is going to be quite enough, though. He sees this all coming in from a mile away. Probes here gets blown up on the right side, and, well, Probes on the left, or sorry, on the left side they get blown up. Probes on the right, trying their best. The Popes on the right as well. Trying their best to get some value. Okay. So, 19 workers down the drain. That kind of sucks. I don't think that Creator really expected a huge army over there, but that was still a lot of Banes. 27 Banelings. I know a lot of Protoss players like to think that these units are free. They're really not. They're quite expensive. They're 50 minerals, 25 gas each. So Banelings are by no means a unit that Zerg can really just throw away, especially after a horrendous early game. That said, though, okay. That said, we do have 80 workers right now for Dark, who's been trying his best to claw himself back into it. And those moves of blowing up the mineral line, very, very nice. Colossus over here, okay, maybe a little too far forward, also gets picked off. Some decent force fields here in the middle of the map. Looks like some Zerg got roasted, but he needs to be careful. It's the income advantage that he was leading in earlier on, but he hasn't really capitalized. Hive Tech is done right now for Dark, who goes for +3 melee together with Adrenal Glands. So he's really hammering down the Zergling situation. Which is interesting to me because he's already spotted the Colossus production. And it's even interesting apparently to Creator, who really should be adding on more Colossi here. But yeah, he's not. He is adding on more Immortals here instead. He's got only 2 Colossus here, and he's got 7 Immortals. Immortals are great against Roaches, but there's not really that many Roaches here available in the first place. Archon over here should have a grand old time. There's no shield battery here for I don't know what reason. Probes trying to get away. Okay, 8 of them end up going down. Adrenal is not done yet, but it's finishing, and honestly that Nexus may not even need it, as, well, Adrenal Glands finishes with that base going down, but the Nexus has now fallen. None of these traits, again, very cheap for the Zerg player at all, but Dark is able to remax right away with 70-something more Zerglings on the back of it. 1 Ravager here gets halted on its retreat, but that's all it really is. Creator has a scary army. A very scary army. I think adding on more Archons, fantastic idea. This is one hell of a death ball. He's coming across. He's lost the 4th Nexus. But his army, very large. Zerglings though, immediately in for the counterattack. Adrenal Glands and +3 makes these guys deal a stupid amount of damage. Protoss army, moving straight through the center. There is an observer in the mix as well, so he's clearing creep in the process. Dark has decided that he cannot fight that army head on, so instead he is going for a full-on counterattack. Massive Zergling run by right now, inside of the natural as well as the main base of our Protoss player. Creator needs to be very careful. He decides to split up his units. He kills the 3rd, he kills the 4th. He now knows that that Protoss army can definitely take on the Zerg. Here's the problem. He needs to come back home. He decides to recall, but the recall gets cancelled as the Nexus is killed by the Zergling Baneling army. Now Dark, yeah, he's forcing the Protoss army to march all the way back home. Creator marching back home and trying to save everything that he's got. One of the assimilators here on the left side of the map gets spotted. Keep in mind that the win condition in a game of StarCraft 2 is to destroy all of your opponent's structures. And the final structures here of Creator are inside of the main base. Creator's army was vastly superior, but he was too late on the recall. Okay, so let's look at the tail end of this game one more time. Honestly, a devastating moment for Creator. So this is as the Zerglings go into the main base. All Creator really needs to do is force a fight between the two armies, and his army is significantly better here. So he must not have realized it yet here that his Nexus did not actually complete the recall, but look at the player camps. It's honestly devastating. This is Creator, ready to move on in the tournament. Dark, not really all too flustered by anything. This is what Dark looks like whenever he plays a game. Maybe a cheeky smile every once in a while. But I feel so bad for Creator looking at this.